Hello and welcome to Radull Live. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I have two very experienced gentlemen in football management. So say hello to former Sokaba Secretary General and FKF aspirant, Nicholas Musonye. How are you doing, Nick?
Very well, Radull.
How is this COVID treating you, considering that our industry has been put to a halt?
It has changed my lifestyle. It has changed my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And life is never the same.
Life is never the same.
But we are trying to adjust, and I hope things we have learned a lesson, one or two.
Just put the microphone near you so people can hear.
So after this, we have learned a few things which we are going to adjust now as we go forward. But I want to really confirm that life is not the same.
Life will never be the same. But allow me to introduce my other guest, the CEO of the Kenyan Premier League, Jack Oguda. Oguda, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you, Carol. I'm doing very okay. Albeit the COVID pandemic that is really putting a lot of things at a halt. But hopefully we'll manage through and get back to our normal business operation.
Get back to normal, whatever normal is. So today there's two things we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss a lot about the Kenyan Premier League, where it started, how it started. And then, of course, we'll get to Nicholas Musonye, who will tell us about his time at Sokaba, what he learned while at Sokaba, and how he intends to use that experience as he aspires to be the next FKF president. But I want to start with you, Jack. For those who've never understood, and I want to use about 10 minutes for people to know where we are coming from before we talk about where we are going. For people who've never understood, when was the Kenyan Premier League formed as a secretariat, and what was your mandate?
I'll take you back in the early 2000s, where a few clubs that were participating in the KFF then were disgruntled by the management of the top league by the federation. You remember those days there used to be matches being awarded on the boardroom decisions at the end of the season. Relegation and promotion was not clear. So at that point, clubs were also complaining about match officiating. The referees were complaining about the finances that were being FKF finances that were coming through, sponsorship from then I think there was Kenya Breweries, there was BAT and stuff.
We're talking about very early this century, 2001, 2002,
yeah,
those sites.
Yes, so a few clubs were disgruntled and wanted to inspect the federation accounts. But they got a lot of resistance, and then they decided, later on they decided to start their own league, and they kept on meeting, trying to chart a way forward for Kenyan football. And then by the time it came to 2003, they set up their company. So in the initial years, they were just trying to know whether to set up a company or just play under FKF, but it got to a point where
eventually we formed the Kenyan Premier League. What was the plan?
The Kenya Premier League main plan was to commercialize the league and run the league very professionally and ensure that all the players are paid their allowances, all the coaches are paid their allowances, all the referees are paid for their roles in officiating matches. And then it came in 2004, there was a rift between two federation presidents, one run by Alfred Sambu, which was legitimate, and then one was run by Sam Nyamwea. And this came about because of the relegation promotion issue, because that year, Shabana were relegated, and they still wanted to play at the top tier league. And then came the normalization committee, where FIFA got involved. And since KPL, they saw that KPL was running professionally, and there were very, very small things that we were doing, ensuring that the league standing was equalized, ensure that all the matches were being played on the field of play, no walkovers, ensure all the referees are paid, matches kick off on time, and eventually the Alfred Sambu FKF gave us the mandate to run the top tier league. That year, the teams were supposed to be 20. But apparently we played 19 teams, and all the clubs signed the relegation promotion agreement, so that by the time it comes to 2007, the league will now be lean at 16 teams.
And it's been at 16 teams until about
2 seasons ago.
I just want to bring in Nicholas Musonye here to also give us a bit of background, because I want people to understand both gentlemen and what they've been doing, and then we can have one conversation about football. Musonye, habari yako?
Very well.
20 years plus. I think I made a joke that you stayed in Sokaba like African presidents.
Not actually, the African presidents who stay for long are very good. I will tell you why. Where you have seen African presidents staying for long, those countries had problems before. So they got the person to cure those problems. I'll give you an example. Can I?
No, I want us to talk football.
Yes.
I want you to tell us about your term, because I disagree, but it's not our conversation for today. You were at the helm of Sokaba for 21 years as Secretary General. Very briefly, tell us what your plans were when you came in and where you left it. You have about 3 minutes to do that.
Yes.
Not too long.
Okay. When I came in 2000, there were many problems. There were no competitions, and if there were competitions, they were not well organized. And there were no sponsors. So I came in 2000, and over these 20 years or so, we have been trying to do as much as we can to get tournaments played. So from 2000, we had only 2 tournaments, the Senior Challenge Cup and the Club Cup competition. But we added others so that football is played at all levels, youth and senior. So between 2010 and 2020, we have increased our competitions from 2 to 6. We added under 20 boys and girls, under 17 boys and girls, and senior women, and under 16 boys. So we have brought all these competitions under one umbrella. So now Sokaba is stable. They can be able to organize these competitions because we have got funding from FIFA, which was a challenge before. We could not do these competitions in those earlier days because we didn't have funding for all these competitions to be done. But after we put a proposal through to FIFA that we need to promote women football and youth, FIFA said, fine, we shall be giving you $1 million per year to organize those competitions, plus $250,000 for under 15 girls and boys. That's where we have come from, and that's where we are.
So you've been in charge of a lot of money, and
No.
you seem to...
No.
No. I'm not saying in a bad way. I'm just saying you've been in charge of a lot of money, and I'm assuming because you increased the tournament from 2 to, you said 6 tournaments.
Now 6 tournaments.
Yeah, and there was a lot of prize money and everything. I just want to bring in Jack, because I know one of the biggest challenges that KPL has made, and I shouldn't be the one saying, you should be the one saying, is the whole idea of finances and how to finance the league. You've had sponsors over the years. How did you acquire those sponsors? And also, why did it fizzle out at some point?
I think you've been part of KPL in the early years. I remember meeting you, Carol Radull and Carol Mutoko.
Kitambo sana.
Yeah, when KISS was when they were the main partners of supporting the league, and in our discussions, I remember we were trying to rally funds into the stadium, because the early years of 2008, we could barely even have 100 funds. And at that point, we also appreciate the journalists, our Kenyan journalists, because they really pushed the league. And luckily, we managed to get a broadcast partner, SuperSport, who came in 2008, and that really helped the league, because now clubs were getting grants, monthly grants from the league that could help them sustain themselves, probably pay players, and manage to attend all matches, avoid the walkovers, and it really helped. With a lot of viewership and the fan increase at the stadium, we got Tusker, who came on board as well, and really boosted up the kitty. Because any money that comes into the league, usually 70 to 75% goes back into the game in terms of grants to clubs, paying the referees, and other match organization expenses. So SuperSport first term ended in 20, it was a 3-year deal. Then they extended it for another 2 years. By the time they were leaving, our deal was to end in 2022. But unfortunately, the reasons are out there why they had to leave. And I wouldn't like to go into that. And when Tusker left, immediately we also got SportPesa. And that really showed that with a kind of audience across the continent and in Kenya as well, we were popular, and we were also able to fill stadiums, mostly matches that were pitting Gor Mahia and AFC. And we also got Mumias, we got Puma as our match ball partner. We also got Umbro as well as a. So
if I can just come in here, Jack, you're painting a picture of an ideal league, which is not what I saw over the last 10 years. Yes, there was some sponsorship. We were fortunate enough to get Supersport. I imagine Supersport came in at a time when they're trying to make a footprint on the continent. So I'm not sure if we sold to them or they felt that Kenya was a strategic region in Africa for us to have a footprint. But I still don't think we built brand KPL to a point where sponsors should be lining up to sponsor teams, to sponsor the league, to take the title. Did we build brand KPL? And you can come in here because you whether you were in the KPL as management or not, you are a fan, you're a Kenyan, you're watching the league. Did we build brand KPL?
I think we did build brand KPL because you realize even most of our clubs started getting sponsors as we continued over the years. And before that, remember, we had teams like Mumias who pulled out because the company had their own strategic reasons to withdraw. And I was looking today at the league standing of the 2005-06, and it's like 8 clubs that have really folded from that. And that time, there was no funding. So KPL started with 0, and immediately we got a broadcast partner. It started to improve, and you saw that we didn't have challenges in getting a title partner over there. Then Tusker left, SportPesa came. So definitely they could see something in football that could propel their brand.
Yes, Musonye, you can come in here.
On, KPL brand as an organization.
Yes.
During the period of SuperSport, and I want to be very precise, period between 2009 up to 2015, everyone in Kenya was actually watching football through SuperSport. And during this period, we had many clubs in the Premier League who had the advantage of even selling their players outside. Many clubs could also get players from outside because the interest was there, the brand was there. SuperSport gave us some element of upwards, and our brand of KPL could be seen. I remember even when we were having Sokaba in Uganda, we could switch on to watch our Premier League matches in Kenya because there was something to watch. The build-up of the matches, especially when Gor Mahia is playing AFC, but you could see a brand that was actually coming up very well. And even the sponsors were lining up. So that period of SuperSport and Kenya Breweries and then later SportPesa, our brand of KPL was very high. And we still need to come to that level again.
And it's true. In addition, look at the early years, we only had like 7 or 8 foreigners. Right now, we have a total of 40 plus foreigners playing in our league. So they're leaving their leagues and coming to the Kenyan Premier League.
I still have issues. I want us to take a break. I also want to get into some of the comments that are on my Facebook for both of you. Okay. And at some point, we'll get to what you want to do for Kenyan football. But I want us to take the first break. When we come back, I'll get to some of your comments. But I also have issues. I still don't think we built brand KPL.
Indeed.
I think we got a favor from SuperSport, and we could see it, but I'm not sure about the quality of the game in the league, whether that improved because we were on TV. But hold that thought. We'll come back to it after the first break.
Good that we are at home right now. We are taking it easy. And the government has given directives. Stay at home, social distancing, wash your hands with soap and water, sanitize, a lot. This is for my fellow sportsmen and women. Sisi ni watu wa sporti, sasa nani anainterfere na hii maneno. So ni muhimu sana jamani, tunawe mikono, tukae na social distance na tukae nyumbani. Game najua ichezwi, no football, no rugby, no athletics, no sports in the world. sports will come back, but your life is more important. So take care of your life. Guys, be good. Take a chill pill. Stay at home. Follow government directives for your own benefits.
Welcome back. I've seen some of your comments here. There's some people who are saying, let's not focus on the past, let's focus on the future. But unless you know where you're coming from, you actually don't know where you're going, guys, because then you're going to make the same mistakes over and over again. Dennis Hamisi, though, here says, Radull, KPL has never branded or marketed the league to a point where sponsors could scramble for the league. And the reason I agree with Dennis here, I don't know him, but I agree with him, is because I still think the power of negotiations when it comes to the sponsor and the Kenyan clubs lies with the sponsor, not with the club. Otherwise, we wouldn't have such a disparity between, for example, how much SportPesa would give, say, Hull City. I won't even say Everton, I'll say how much they'd give Hull City and how much they'd give Gor Mahia or AFC or even the Kenyan Premier League to have the title. Because we are still at a point where the sponsor dictates. And I think one of the areas which I have tackled with you, Jack, for the last 12 years is trying to get fans in the stadium. Because apart from Gor and AFC, if there are no fans, there are no sponsors. Because these sponsors are businesses. SportPesa was a big betting company. We know why they were there, you know, to build brand love and everything. They didn't need to advertise their name. But you need to have normal sponsors, Jack, coming to say, I am going to take charge and I'm going to sponsor this team, whatever the price. Are we there yet?
It's funny because I already mentioned the kind of sponsorship we had over the years. Apparently, the challenge came in because TV is a key aspect of getting sponsorship, because most of our corporate companies look at TV audiences, and in return, the more you see a lot of football on TV, it will spur other fans now to attend the stadium. But once the TV is reduced, then people wouldn't know what's there for sale. In the early years, the teams that were competing in the CAF competitions, they used to live in the very early stages. We saw later on, the Gor Mahia, the Sofapakas were at least moving to the group stages in the CAF competition. That's a measure.
Something I should probably tell you about TV, and I'm talking as an insider, considering I was at Bamba Sport, which at some point had rights to the Kenyan Premier League, is unless you build the brand, because TVs again are not charities. SuperSport was able to sponsor the league because they charge subscription, so they could make money from subscription. A company like, say, Kenyan broadcast companies who want to become broadcast sponsors, you're hit with, I think Bamba was charged 37 million shillings for 4 months of sponsorship of the Kenyan Premier League. Throw in another million per broadcast day, another million per month, give or take, for 4 broadcasts. You're asking a company to spend 50 million shillings on the KPL. This is a company that's also a business. So you're going to the EABLs of this world, the Coca-Colas, the SportPesas, and telling them to break even, I need 10 million a month from you.
A good question, Carol.
Which corporate is going to give you that money in Kenya when you've not built the brand of the game?
Good question. How much is the production of a match?
Low cost, 250,000 per production day. Low cost.
It depends on the quality.
It does depend on the quality. SuperSport were probably charging, were probably at 500,000.
Now, as I can tell you, we managed to get a partnership with La Liga, and they are funding the production. And also that helped us to get KTN on board to give them content to show to the viewers or to the public. And in turn, KTN is supposed to sell the advertising space within the matches, as well as for us, we also get partners.
But KTN don't pay rights. Do they pay rights?
They don't pay rights, but any revenue that we get here, we had an arrangement of a 50-50 share.
And how much revenue have you been getting?
Basically, we've not gotten any revenue.
Because you've not built brand football. So the corporate is not seeing, why should I sponsor that game on KTN when the viewership is so low and you've not built the initial brand?
We got the viewership figures from KTN, and they were averaging 400,000 viewership per game. And that's details gotten from Geopol, and you understand Geopol is.
I understand Geopol. 400 is less than I have on Twitter, and yet I cannot charge that much money. That is, yeah. So it's really tricky. You need to build brand football.
I think
you should be talking of millions.
I think, Carol, KPL tried to build the brand, but you see, even as KPL are trying to build a brand, if I am a corporate and I'm working with the KPL, I should also be part and parcel of building that brand. So it is a two-way traffic.
No.
It shouldn't just be sponsorship.
Let me disagree with you there. The corporate owes you nothing. The corporate owes sport nothing. I'm in the business of selling soda. My business is not growing football. My business is selling soda. For me to put money on your brand, you have to sell me more sodas. Our corporates are businesses. That's the point people miss. They think our corporates should be doing CSR on football. Do you think any of the sponsors of the EPL it's CSR? It's not CSR. They get returns. Because they have millions of viewers around the world.
Then let me ask you.
Carol, we did the Coca-Cola in 2009 and 2010 until a new federation came in and decided to take over that. At that point, what was the Coca-Cola seeing in KPL? It was organized. People started trickling into the stadium, and when you go down in grassroots, where federation should focus on, because once you build a grassroots football, these kids will come up learning that I want to be like Olunga when I grow up. So they'll have interest in the league. But if they don't play any football, that kills the sport. We did Orange Mabingwa in Nairobi. We used to have people watching under 13 tournament. We used to have people coming to watch, and the same
Orange
people.
Mabingwa an Orange-owned property or a KPL-owned property?
It was a KPL property.
It was a KPL property.
And we ran it for them. Yeah.
And did it have a direct benefit into the KPL?
It was, that is the key. We were trying to get youth structures from like the KPL under 20. Then we did the KPL under 16 team, which went to Arusha and won. That's in 2016. But everything is about funding.
Everything is about funding. And I've noticed what most corporates are doing in this country is they're choosing to have their own tournaments. So it means they sort of don't trust you, so to speak. And I'm talking about you as institutions. Because why do these corporates decide to have their own tournaments as opposed to saying, I will sponsor the KPL? Because it's well and good you have Orange Mabingwa. You identify a 16-year-old. But you know what that 16-year-old says? All I hear about the KPL is that players are not getting paid. Teams are being relegated because they have no funding. So that 16-year-old goes to college and becomes a journalist, or goes to college and becomes a doctor or a nurse. They never stay in football because the main brand, which is KPL, is not attractive to me.
And I think we also do disservice to ourselves because
Musonye wants to speak.
Because it is not all the teams that don't, all the teams that are not paying their players. We only focus on the negatives because probably it's a club, a community club that doesn't have a sponsor. But on the other hand, there are teams that pay their players. So we only focus on the negative and don't talk about the positive. In
the KPL, I know there's Tusker, there's Bandari. There are a few clubs that, the corporate teams who pay their players. But if you speak to those clubs, and I've had meetings with Tusker themselves who are saying, help us market the Tusker FC, not Tusker the brand, Tusker FC, saying help us market the team because we need more revenue. You know, so even those corporate clubs are not where, because apart from, and I'm not sure we should be having a KPL full of corporate teams. I think we should be having a KPL full of community clubs.
Garo, let me ask you a question. It may look political, but accept it. Here we have a Premier League that runs for 1 year. Sponsors are not very enthusiastic about it. Okay? But here we have a golf tournament and it runs for a weekend. And we find that they have given them 400 million shillings. I want to say something here, and I will repeat it elsewhere. Corporate sponsorship in this country is biased against football. They are biased. Because you will find a tournament of golf for one weekend. Everybody is rushing there to give them money. But the Premier League that runs for 12 years, which gives them visibility for 10 months, they want to keep conditions and they want to to make it look that it is not well planned and well organized. If I am a sponsor, if I am running a corporate, I will work with KPL to ensure that we work together and build the brand so that I can sustain my market in that brand. But here, sponsorship is biased.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned golf. Unlike football, we never see golf people. I'm sure every federation has domes. And trust me, I've interviewed some. From swimming to all federations in Kenya have domes.
They are
but
biased.
they don't publicly, because corporates, it's what they read in the papers, it's what they hear, it's what they see on WhatsApp groups and social media. Our football management is not on the same page. And we'll get into FKF versus KPL just now. They've not been on the same page. And maybe if you come in as a FKF president, I'll get to that, how will you work with the KPL? Because these corporates look from the outside and all they can see is, football were given 250 million, yet we have national team players saying they didn't get allowances from AFCON. We have football who were given this much money to prepare for AFCON, but they went to France instead of going to Tunisia, which is probably half the cost and better climate. It's not you guys' problem, but as a corporate, I'm looking from the outside saying, how am I always hearing, even when you do get money, Harambee Starlets have been waiting for money for 3 or 4 years. And if you hear the amount of money they're waiting for, it's a shame. Half that 250 million shillings should have been used to pay Starlets. So as a corporate, if I don't have faith in you and your integrity as a leader of that sport, I'm not going to give you my money, even if it's for 8 months, even if it's for 10 months. But I want us to take our second break. I'm going to let you guys, I'm doing more talking, which is wrong. I'm going to let you guys do more talking after this.
Okay.
And then I've seen the phone has been ringing, but I'll get to some of the calls and the comments after the break. Let's take the second break. After this, I'm going to shut up and let them talk. So see you in a bit.
The current Miss Africa Bodybuilding Wellness, and also the founder of Radull Health and Fitness. And I can tell you guys, please stay active during this period. It will help you ease out your stress and just make you feel better. If you don't have an equipment, it's okay. You can do this at home, just this. You can do this in the living room, anywhere outside. I'm lucky to have a field behind me, so I can always use it, but just get yourself doing something. And also keep it locked because you're watching Radull.
I'm Billy Odhiambo, Kenya 7's rugby player. I hope everyone is keeping safe and following the directives given to combat the spread of the coronavirus. And during this time, we need to keep active one way or the other. So with me, I'm not taking any chances by stepping out of the house. So I use the tricep dips to sweat a little bit and get some blood flow.
Yeah, but it's not, I don't remember you.
You're watching Radull live. Welcome back, guys. Yes, I still have Jack Oguda here, CEO of KPL, and former Secretary General of Sokaba, Nicholas Musonye, and yes, and FKF aspirant.
Yes.
I want us to move into that conversation, Nick. You have declared you want to become the next FKF president.
Yes.
What do you intend to do for Kenyan football? And I want details, not campaigning.
Yes, that's a good question, Caro. And as you have said, I'll give you reasons why I want to come and be part of building Kenyan football.
Mm-hmm.
This is a request brought to me by the stakeholders that come and help us build our football. We have talked about a brand, KPL brand, we make a Harambee Stars brand. I am coming in, not that I have got all the knowledge about football.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to work with stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
There are many who have ideas which we need to weave together and build our brand, Kenyan football. When I talk about Kenyan football, I'm talking about the national team, I'm talking about the Premier League, which runs for 10 months. We need to build it as a brand. We need to come to football together with all your brains. You are involved, Jack is involved, everybody's involved around. Coaches, former coaches, all of them. We come together and see where have we gone wrong in the past. That we have stronghold of football, it is not growing, as you put it.
I want some tangible.
I'm coming to improve on governance.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a challenge. Governance has been a challenge. Where we have problems with accounting, all those things. Not only for the first few years, all these years. From the 70s when I was involved in these things, we have had problems with the governance. I'm going to improve on that. Everybody's talking about youth structure. I'm going to do it, and I've got a reason why we are going to do a lot on youth and women structure. It is important because if we don't have good structure from the grassroots, even the Premier League clubs will have problems. They will not get the quality they deserve to make the Premier League interesting and entertaining. So the youth structure, part of the youth money from FIFA, will go deep in the grassroots to build youth structure. And I will ask even the Premier League clubs to have youth programs that will be seen to be operating. If you have under 13, under 15, under 17, under 20, every Premier League club will have a youth teams.
If I can just bring Jack in here, and I mean, I heard you say on another interview that you will keep KPL running the league.
Yes.
Since their term expires, I believe, in September. But you will be willing to continue to work with
I'll
KPL.
comment on that. I really need to comment on that because it is something that I have also in mind. Can I say it now, or you want to ask Jack?
Let me ask Jack something, because you did mention youth structures. And I know KPL did have a program a couple of years ago where every team in the KPL had to have a youth side. I know there was a bit of a challenge with Tusker, so you had to raise it to, I think, under 20. Under 20,
yes,
because of the age group of someone who plays for Tusker. But I think it ran for 2 seasons. But given that right now our clubs are challenged financially just to maintain their first 11, how does that same club then get a youth structure?
And as I mentioned earlier, I think the rain started beating us when we had the issue of league size, and eventually our broadcast partner left, because the money that we were getting and the money we were getting from a title sponsor and broadcast partner would enable us to have those tournaments. But once the broadcast partner left, we were only left with a title partner that could not sustain the tournaments, and that's why most of the clubs did away with the tournament. But the players who played in the under 20 are the players who are now performing very well for our national team and are mostly playing outside our borders. So that shows that we have the talent here, and if you can harness it well, then it is going to make Kenya have more players playing abroad. Zambia, because of TV, we had very many players go to Zambia in the 2015, 2016, showing that they were watching our league. Some have gone to Tanzania. So the league was popular, albeit probably after our regional partner left.
If it's popular as the league was, and you say right now you are giving the KPL, and you can come in here, Nick, you are giving the KPL to KTN and for free, and 400,000 viewers every week. What then is stopping clubs? Why then do clubs not have their own sponsorship? What does the KPL do? And I know the clubs run independently, but as KPL, what are you doing as a lead? And if you become FKF president, what will you do to help these clubs brand and market themselves so that they can be self-sustaining? Because clubs really shouldn't say the title sponsor is gone, we're now broke. They shouldn't be always looking at KPL for handouts. Each club should be able to sustain itself. But as a federation, what would you do? And as KPL, what have you done to try and help these clubs build themselves so they get their own sponsorship? And you had sponsors throughout your Sokaba, almost throughout your term at Sokaba. You managed to get many sponsors on board. What's the secret?
Okay, let me speak about Premier League clubs not having sponsors. It is not a problem. It is not a problem for KPL, because if I'm a president of say Musonye FC, it is my responsibility to look for my own sponsor, even if I'm getting grant from KPL through their sponsors.
Absolutely.
So KPL cannot interfere with my club. It is me to look for my sponsors. I say, I've got a sponsor, sponsoring my team for the Premier League competition. If I get anything from KPL, well and good. But if, by the grace of God, I become the president of FKF, I will put KPL here, FKF here. Then we say we are combining our efforts to look for sponsors. Because if KPL go alone, sometimes they can be challenged. That you are coming alone, but the owners of football who want to take it from you will bring problems when you sign a contract with you. So it will be my responsibility to give sponsors the confidence that I am working with the KPL. So that if KPL gets a sponsor outside our scope of FKF, the sponsor is not worried. But if the sponsor is worried that there will be a wrangle between FKF and Premier League, then that's where the problem is. So for me, if I become FKF president, I will make it very clear that KPL is part of FKF, and we are partners in promoting football.
And as much as it's not your responsibility to make sure clubs get sponsors, I think it's in your interest for clubs to get sponsors. So as the federation, as KPL, what will you do and what have you done in... Because clearly clubs need help.
They need help.
Some clubs need help. They inbox me asking for sponsorship, and there's one corporate club that inboxed me, and I said, if you want a corporate sponsor, the first thing you need to do is change your name. Why is one corporate going to sponsor another corporate
entity
named team? And he said, we can't change our name. And unfortunately, sorry to mention them, it was Sony Sugar. And they said, we're not changing our name, Sony. I said, well,
Caro,
you can't have
I still want to go back to our earlier question about sponsorship. Why would, and I'm sorry to mention the name of the team, why would Tusker FC struggle?
They're not struggling.
I'm just saying, because they also have some issues with the players' payments and what have you. They are struggling. Why would they struggle when KPL is giving golf 40 million and their own club, which is participating in the Premier League, has some issues? They may not be serious issues like Goromaya and Davis Leopards. Why? Why are they struggling?
I think every company has their own strategies in terms of what they want to sponsor, and that is where probably football needs to work together to break that ice. Yeah, and Karo, as you mentioned about what has KPL done, remember we've managed to have partnerships like with the EPL. We had our club executives go to the EPL just to learn about professionalizing football and how to run their clubs better. We've done that with the CEOs going to the Bundesliga, and just recently, last year, 2018, we had La Liga send their experts for a 2 or 3 day workshop for capacity building for our club managers. So it's something that once you're taught, probably you just forget about it, instead of trying to apply that.
You know, Jack, somebody mentioned to me, I think it was yesterday on social media, and said what they know about KPL and their partnerships is that they like to travel the world with CEOs of clubs, and we rarely see the benefit of that when it comes to the game. And I'll give an example. I went on one trip with you. I was called by La Liga. I was not called by KPL. La Liga looked for me and they found me through KPL, and I went to the KPL All-Stars team to Malaga, and the All-Stars team played a few games. I don't know what general benefit that trip was to the players or to the league in itself, and I think we had chairmen of every single club, and I would rather have left those chairmen at home and carried more players, you know? So you have chairmen just...
But why would you carry players?
And then chairmen
are the owners of the club. They're supposed to go learn and how to run their clubs.
What did they learn? What did they learn, Jack?
It was just good. These are the chairmen of the clubs. They should go and learn how to market their clubs.
But they've come back and they haven't marketed the clubs.
So who is to blame?
Then at some point, KPL should realize we're carrying all these CEOs who are coming back with nothing.
The idea of KPL carrying this chairman to Spain was for them to learn how to market and manage their clubs. If they came back blank, who is to blame?
Okay, 2 years later, their clubs don't have any sponsors. So clearly, I mean, all this funding you're getting and all these partnerships, aren't there better ways of spending the money that you're getting? Because football needs to stop being planned here. Let's come here.
Grassroots.
Yes, grassroots. Take that money to tournaments, in Mashinani tournaments or something. I don't have the solutions, you know. I'm just thinking.
Jack said here that the first 2 years when they compelled all Premier League clubs to have youth teams,
Yes.
there was some success. Then when sponsors pulled out, those clubs died. Those youth clubs died. We look for a way. If we are going to say each team to have 2 youth teams, under 15 and under 17, for example, we will look at if we get funding from FIFA. We will ask, because there is funding. We will say, okay, this funding.
But is FIFA funding not
for youth development?
Youth
Development, women's football,
and women.
referees, coaches.
And referees, coaches.
Yeah.
But
So you would be able to get that funding for Premier League teams for their youth sides?
For their youth sides, because I will say, since the Premier League, Kenya KPL has issues with the Premier League funding, with sponsorship. This money we get from the FIFA, for example, and other donors, sponsors, we will channel it to the youth programs at club level, so that we cushion the clubs from actually having headache of sustaining their youth teams. And this one we shall do it very well with the KPL, because KPL has a structure. They know that this club has got a youth team. They train here, so that we shall channel it in a very good way through KPL or through the clubs direct. Because if we get funding for youth development, we don't need to keep it in the bank. We need to take it to where it is supposed to be, for youth development. So me, as I've said before, it is my responsibility to give sponsors the confidence, first, that there will be no wrangling between the FKF and the body mandated to run the Premier League. I will even give them extra work to do, to run NSL.
There's this notion that KPL is not part of FKF. But KPL is part of FKF. The clubs are members of FKF. FKF has a special share in KPL, which they rarely exercise. So it is one family, and the goals are similar. KPL club performing well in the CAF competitions. Our national team performing well in CAF competitions as well. Our goal is ultimate that, and making sure that the the sport is popularized, and there's more revenue, there's more funds into the stadium. So our goals are exactly the same.
But for some reason, you've not been able to work together. And I know, Jack, you had a problem with Nyamoya. Now the KPL had a problem, or is it Nyamoya when he was president had a problem with KPL? You've had a very rocky relationship with Nick Mwendwa. What is the real fundamental problem here?
The problem is on the leadership at the federation. Remember, 2004, it was Sambu versus Nyamoya. 2008, it was Nyamoya versus Hatmi. Then an all-inclusive election I think in 2012. 2011, 2012. And then after Sam's regime, and then Nick Mwendwa. But when you see this, KPL were very keen on making a lean league, which was quite affordable,
which could manage and afford,
and manageable, and clubs will get more funding from whatever kitty that the league had. But the issue about expanding the league was going to deteriorate it further, and we've seen that has happened right now.
At the time,
usually,
I remember
any cycle of the elections, we find that there's hue and cry about KPL versus FKF, but we are one family. We are one family.
I remember Nick saying that if you expand the league by 2 teams, they will give you extra funding for those 2 teams. Did that ever happen?
It did happen.
It didn't happen.
It did happen.
It did happen.
It did happen.
He gave you money for the extra 2 teams.
Not in full.
Not okay. He gave you some money to accommodate the 2 teams.
Anyway, we are past that. I think we as you said earlier, we need to forge ahead and see what we can do. If we can work closely together, we can definitely get far. During Nyamoya's regime, whenever issues came up, we set up meetings, joint executive committee, iron out any issues, and that's why he managed to entrench all this in an MOU, so that we can have a harmonious relationship. But anytime elections comes in, there's KPL this. I think because KPL has they sit down and unanimously decide on who do you think we can vote. It's a block of votes, and it's the top tier league. So it might make influence other voters as well. But I don't know. But any cycle of elections, there's usually an issue that KPL versus FKF. But it shouldn't be that.
Okay. I wanted to take another break, but there's somebody who was asking about the KPL ending, FKF ending the KPL. Unfortunately, Jack, we can't comment about that issue because it is a case in court.
No.
So it's not that we're ignoring you when you want to know about what Jack wanted to do with the league versus FKF ending the league and awarding it to Gor Mahia and City Stars to be promoted. That is a matter in court, so we cannot discuss it. I want us to take a break. When we come back, Nick, I'm on your case, eh?
Yes.
The Kenyans here who've quoted you, eh? Musonye said, I will never run Kenyan football.
When did I say that?
I don't know. Maybe you can tell me when you said that. But we're going to discuss that when we come back. So guys, don't go away. We'll be back in a minute. And I'll take your call. So you can call me right after the break.
Kenyans don't love football. Kenyans like gossiping and drinking beer in bars during football time.
Despite the deficit, Musonye assured teams of their prize monies. And after the altercation between the Rwanda and Tanzanian coaches yesterday,
we have given them reprimand. Serious warning.
After thumping Rwanda 4-0 in last year's Sokaba final in Uganda, the Cranes start as favourites and all the players who did duty last year will be present except Brian Omonye. Rwanda have had a 100% record into the finals. Tanzania and Zanzibar will play at an early kickoff for the third and fourth spot.
Orange Sokaba Challenge Cup highlights brought to you by Orange.
Orange. Together we can do more.
All right, welcome back. And yeah, if you're listening to what was playing during the break, it was my friend Nicholas Musonye here saying Kenyans don't like football. We just drink beer and gossip in bars.
That's why we need to bring them to stadium. We need to bring back football people to stadium.
You need to bring back people to the stadium.
Yes.
And yes, that comment has become very, I even used it this week on my social media.
People must go back to stadium. It's even cheaper. If you go to stadium from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you have saved a lot.
I know this statement, I believe it was made, was it 2013?
29.
209. 209, when
Yes.
Kenya was hosting Sokaba. And embarrassingly, our stadiums were empty.
Yes.
Completely empty.
That's why I'm saying it's better for people to go to stadium.
And
spend a lot of time there enjoying football. Then you can go and have your 2 beers in the evening. It's cheaper than going to the bar at 2 o'clock up to 7 in the evening. You spend more.
I can comment on that. Remember, even as KPL, we realized one of our challenges was the fans are competing with local football because the EPL matches were coming in early, around 5 o'clock, and the fans would like to watch that game. So we made a decision that let's be starting our games earlier, and we moved it to 3 o'clock, and that really helped as well. Remember, midweek matches, we used to have people attending those midweek matches. The main challenge as well that really hit us was the closure of the stadiums within Nairobi. That's where you can't get a fan leaving Nairobi going to Machakos every weekend, spending close to 1,500 to 2,000. Yet they used to walk from Eastlands, Kibera, Madare to come to watch Nyayo or City Stadium. So it has been an undoing by the government because having Nairobi has 9 teams. Having those teams travel outside Nairobi,
it's expensive.
You cannot. It's very challenging to get a fan base.
In Nairobi, there were no fans. If it's not Goro AFC and AFC, because they're not doing that well, even their attendance has dwindled. There are no fans in the stadium. I want us to discuss something else. We'll come back to the issue of fans. There are many people here, Musonye. Are you on record saying that it's impossible to run football in this country? Or it's difficult to run football in Kenya?
I don't remember that.
You have had a lot of domes with the Kenyan football, if I can call it that. There was a time, and when you were Sokaba boss, you kicked Harambee Stars out of a hotel in Kigali at midnight.
Yes, I did.
You did?
I'll explain why.
Explain why.
Yes. That was 2-5, I think, 2 or 5. We had a sponsor who bought the tickets for all the teams. And we gave all the teams their tickets well much in advance. The Kenya team failed to board the plane because they had not been paid their allowances by the local federation. This meant that they are not traveling for the competition. We had to change the fixtures because we were starting the tournament one day before departure. So Kenya was scheduled to fly out on Thursday and play on Saturday. They didn't fly. So they arrived in Kigali, and I had warned them that since you have not traveled, we are changing the fixtures, excluding you, because you have not honored the day of arrival. And they wrote back saying we are not traveling until we are paid our allowances by the local federation. So they arrived in Kigali on Sunday when we have changed the fixtures. I told them, go back to Kenya. You are not supposed to be here, you are tourists, because we were not going to play this competition, and I threw them out of Kigali. I don't regret.
You know, there was a lot said about you during your time at Sokaba that you had no love for Kenyan football at all. And I think your base was in Kigali.
My headquarters is here.
Your headquarters
people
was here?
People are putting him in Kigali, Dar es Salaam. My base is here.
Do you have a home in Kigali?
No, I don't have.
Musonye, say the truth.
I don't have. I will not be here.
Because it's like you decided you're Rwandan and Tanzanian and Ugandan, but you're not Kenyan.
Let me explain to you the problems I had with Kenya. And it's the same problems that are playing around here. Everyone who came to the federation thought I was a threat. So they used to sabotage. Even recently, a few months ago, before I threw in my resignation. No, not a few months, a few years ago, about 3 years ago. They met in Dar es Salaam in my absence to remove me. And this was not the first time. They had been doing it since 2002. So these problems of not me liking Kenya is not that I didn't like Kenya. It's because the Kenyan nonsense was too much. You organize a competition, they pull out last minute. You say you are going to play in Kenya, last minute they say you are not hosting. What would I do? And I'm serving the whole region.
Sabotage. So
here's a solution to removing the nonsense from Kenyan football.
It is important to remove nonsense in this country. There's a lot of nonsense. A lot of nonsense.
There's a time you said, and I can quote, if I had powers, I cannot allow democracy in some organizations.
Very true.
And I believe you were talking about Kenyan football at the time.
It is very true.
But now when you're campaigning, you're saying I'll include everybody.
Inclusivity and democracy is different. If you allow democracy, people will be demonstrating on the streets everywhere. You make a decision, people go to court because of democracy. You are halted in everything you want to do because you have allowed everybody to have these rights, human rights. There is a limit for democracy. You accept democracy in totality, you have got problems. But inclusivity means we engage all the stakeholders.
But there's some decisions you'll make alone.
Definitely.
All right. I need details. You said you're going to focus on youth football, women's football. What are your plans for women's football?
I have a feeling that Kenya and even in the region, the best opportunity we have to send our teams to World Cup is through women football. I have seen them play compared to men. If we get funding from FIFA and from sponsors, I will make sure we work together with all the stakeholders to put money in women football and youth. The women league must be strong.
I want details. I want details on the how, because it's easy for even me to say women's football is great, it deserves A, B, C, D, we might reach out. And I don't know whether you'll keep going to, because you seem to be mentioning FIFA a lot, and I'm not sure whether FIFA funds every aspect of your football in your country.
There is funding from FIFA, specifically for women.
Specifically for women.
And for youth.
And you will use it for women's Premier League or women's...
We'll strengthen... I don't know who runs the Premier League women. We'll get a formula. We get good running of the Premier League women.
Right now it's running okay. A few years ago it was terrible.
And the second tier. We make sure that it is strengthened and it is also grassroots. We go to Nyanza, we go to Siani, to North.
But they need a lot of funding.
Yes. We look for sponsors because we go to companies that have got that gender balance, you know.
I want us to take our first phone call. I'm not done with women's football. Hello, what's your name? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, what's your name and what's your question?
Okay, I'm called Frederick.
What's your question, please? What's your question?
Okay, I want to ask Mr. Musonye some question.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, in Kenya, we have the branch leagues. Yeah. And the management of the branch leagues, let's say from sub-county, we have the county level, we have the regional level, the Division 2 level. There are lots of mismanagement happening over there. What will he do? Because most of the presidents do focus on national leagues and national teams, and they tend to ignore the lower leagues a lot. Another thing is, maybe I can also add another question.
Okay, quickly, please.
Most of the branch officials, they tend to have teams in their branch leagues. They tend to have their clubs taking part in the branch leagues. And they do favor them a lot.
So there's conflict of interest. All right, let me ask those two questions. Thank you. Those two questions.
I got it. I got the questions.
You got them.
The difficulties of running leagues, lower leagues, isn't
branch league, yeah, the lower leagues.
The lower leagues. I am aware of that one because those county leagues, they have problems even paying referees. There are problems of even honoring matches because they don't have money. That's why I've said before that if we are going to have a harmonious working relationship with the KPL, any sponsorship that we get, we shall be factoring in this factor, these leagues, so that money drops down there. Even if it means giving this lower leagues some 200,000 per year, or even 100,000 to pay referees, we shall do it. Because once we get sponsorship, all this will be factored in our programs. That we have lower leagues which supply the other top leagues. They should run well. So that's why I said before that the Premier League managers will have a lot of work to do, because you cannot run top league without knowing how the lower leagues are being run. You must have control, because if the top league is run well and the lower leagues are not running well, there is a gap in between. All this will be harmonized, so that there is something small that goes down on the lower leagues.
And the
regarding
issue
the
of
conflict,
conflict of interest.
If you are an official of a branch, or even like myself, I go to FKF and form a team, I will not do it. It's not good, because that will be conflict. I will be looking at KPL, what they are doing, what reference are they giving tomorrow for my team. I will not do that. So those are the things that will be included in my governance. We are going to do some restructuring. If I get the mandate to run the federation, those are the issues of governance that we shall look at.
Let me take another call. Hello?
Hello?
What's your name and what's your question?
My name is Nyane.
Yes.
And,
Please put the volume down on your side.
My question is to Oguda.
Please, yeah?
I'm asking you, why, our league is now struggling, and we know that almost our clubs, almost 90% of our clubs have no money. Why would you insist that the league be completed?
We can't discuss that issue because it's in court.
Okay.
We can't discuss. If you want to discuss, we can't discuss that issue because it's in court. But generally speaking, I think we've already addressed the issue of clubs not having funding and what they need to get their funding. But do you have any other tangible ways you intend to get funding? Because I don't think FIFA will run football for us.
No. There are two ways of funding. Government funding and sponsorship.
Our history with government funding, trust me, it's not coming.
I'm coming to that. How did the team go to AFCON?
That was the first time I've seen the government give the team any substantial amount of money in almost 10 years. Before that, if we're lucky, they get tickets for national games.
We'll find a way. We'll find a way of getting funding. Because without funding, our leagues will struggle, our national teams will not perform well.
The solution to funding is corporates.
It's corporates.
But corporates, remember, are not charities. They need return on investment. So your focus should be, what am I going to do on the ground to make this product attractive?
I have said, we shall make the corporates feel that there is, we create confidence in the corporates. We shall build confidence in the corporates so that they know that our money, our sponsorship is safe. If we say we are sponsoring the Premier League with 400 million shillings per year, my federation will liaise with the Aguda's office to ensure that this money is spent well. So that at the end of every 6 months, we report back to the sponsors that this is how we have spent this money. So that confidence is built. If we don't build confidence...
But that's twofold. One is transparency and accountability, and the other is
brand
how
building.
is your brand... You see, I trust Jack. If I give Jack 100 bob, I know he's going to spend it well. But will that give me a client
return on investment
for whatever it is I'm marketing? You see? So accountability and transparency for me is one issue.
And brand building, another one.
Return on investment for the corporate is another issue.
Maybe I could comment there. I think one of the challenges as well is that a corporate would like to sponsor you, but you align yourself to their objectives, as opposed to working together, discussing these objectives together, so that you move along together. And that will definitely end up at on a positive, both the corporate and both the club or the league. So when they're doing the strategic plan on how they want to develop or how to grow the sport, they should have a team from the league side, the club side, and from the corporate side. But that really happens.
One thing that worries me
here
with both the KPL and the FKF is that none of them have a marketing department. I know there's a time you had a freelance marketer who came in for a few months, but the KPL...
We have marketing partners, agencies that are working for KPL.
You have now?
Yeah, we've had all along.
Fire them. They're not doing a good job, Jack. Fire them. If you should be having sponsorship left, right, and center.
So if
FKF doesn't have a marketing department. I can't say this is the marketing manager of Football Kenya Federation, and yet it's a brand you're trying to brand and market. Mr. Musonye, in your incorporating people, you'll get a marketing department.
If I get the mandate, I look at what is there. I can't comment about that one now. I look at what is in the structure, because there must be structures. Because even us in Sokaba, we have standing committees for marketing, communication, club championship committee, women and youth. So
it's the same as well in the federation as well.
We look at the structure and see where to improve.
Someone here wants you to clarify Musonye. They're saying Musonye doesn't have clear vision of what he wants to do in FKF. Let's not sugarcoat. He needs to be vibrant, state his vision and how to achieve it.
I will produce that vision when I'm pronouncing my
candidature. Officially.
Officially.
When is that?
I've done it, but when I'm doing my launch.
Okay. Collins Otieno, Aguda, what happened? Oguda. What happened to Gor Mahia's prize money last year?
Very good question. As you're aware, at the point that our title partner, were just about to start the new season, they didn't get their license, and we usually accrue the prize money from the current season that we are going to start. So once they pulled out, we didn't have any funding to pay up Gor Mahia.
There are a few people here saying they support Musonye. Pablo Elche Escobar, I support Musonye. Kwanya Joshua Nyakwaro Menda. Yawa. Nani kama Musonye. Ruthless Omwami. FKF needs you. I have a question.
Ask.
Which a little birdie told me. And don't tell me I'm crazy, I'm listening to birds. But so, are you a member of an FKF registered club?
I am.
You have a club. Which club is this?
I will not disclose it.
Huh?
I will not disclose it now.
Why is it a secret?
No. In fact, I will not disclose it now, but I am a member.
Of an FKF registered club?
Yeah.
Why is, because I know a condition to run for FKF president, you have to have been active in an FKF registered club for several years. And okay, you're telling me you are a member of a secret club.
I am a member.
Why are things hidden? Why can't you just be open about our stuff? You know.
I am a member.
Guys, I'm still taking your calls. Maybe for the next few minutes. Mosh Junior, I see you called. Debu, call again so that we can have a chat. Do you think he's done a good job as KPL CEO?
Under the circumstances, what he has gone through, he has done a lot to promote KPL. The way I know him. I'm not saying this because he's here. Jack, under the circumstances, he has managed to hold KPL together. During his time, there are very few matches that have been cancelled or postponed without any reason. None. So to me, he has done a good job. And as I have said before, we'll give him more job because we want the league plus the other lower leagues to run smoothly so that the promotion and demotion is very clear.
I have another call here. Mosh Junior.
Yes, Carol, how are you?
Your number is saved on all our phones. What's your question and who is it for?
My question is to Oguda.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to ask him whether, there is this issue of sponsorships. If it's true that they are broke and there is a time they turned down a proposal from FKF when they gave them an office to operate from, but they continued using the office that they were renting in. Why did they turn down the proposal? And secondly, the second question is about the marketing issue. If it's true they have... they outsourced agencies for marketing. Have they seen any results?
I've already told him to fire his marketing agency.
Yes, have they seen results? And if they haven't, what actions have they taken? And two, there are these organizations that try mobilize funds to go to the stadiums. Have they reached out to them so that they can see if they can work together to bring back funds to the stadium? Those are my two questions.
Okay, Mosh. There were actually three, but thank you. So you've heard what he had. You were given an office by FKF. You refused to take it?
I think we've been at the Gold Project when in 2004, when Samuel Bingo was the CEO. And at that time, we thought that we needed to build a brand, what we've just been discussing, build a KPL brand that is autonomous, but under the federation, where we can now have our meetings and have our, where we can invite our sponsors, make presentations, and we went to Riadha. Immediately we got another sponsor, we moved out and went to a bigger office, which had a boardroom. And this was just to bring in an image whereby KPL is autonomous and it's running its roles professionally. You see, that's the best practice. When you go to the EPL, they don't share an office with the FA, the same as La Liga and the Bundesliga. The league has to look so autonomous and make their decisions without influence from other bodies.
Okay, his other issue was on marketing, which I think we addressed, and then on fan movements.
Marketing is talking about the agencies. We've got offers from companies, but it's not what our board sees that it's an offer that they would like to take. We've turned on a few offers, but unfortunately the league was going towards the tail end with no sponsor. But we were very optimistic that somebody would eventually come on board because we're still on TV. And
Jack, I've been hearing optimistic from you for 2 years.
It's only 1 year. SportPesa just left the other day.
But that's another danger, that you only have one sponsor. Around the world, leagues have multiple sponsors, clubs have multiple sponsors, individual players get sponsors. We seem to be chasing that one sponsor, and when the government cuts their legs, as betting companies, we're lost.
At some point in 2015, we had multiple. There was Mumias, there was Puma, there was Umbro, there was SportPesa, there was SuperSport.
And it's worrying that we had so many and they all left. What were we not giving them? That is my question.
Mumias, we understand. Puma, their business strategy changed because they had to go back to the Middle East. So it's also the corporates themselves, they're making their own decisions at the top level, which we cannot influence as a league.
All right, I want to read a few comments here. Musonye, I don't know if you called your home and told them all to send messages.
No.
Ochi Wilder says, No, that's Anthony Odhiambo. Those asking for clear visions from Musonye are just looking for good English, which will not result in anything after one clinches office. This man is very honest, and that for me is all I would vote for. Okay. Ochi Wida, not really a fan. What new things is Musonye planning to bring to the federation should he win? New things being the key word. And Deco Kazola, I think he didn't understand what I was asking. He said, how can you be a president and also own a club? I think member of a club, not owning a club. Those are two different things. But what new thing? And then I also want to touch very quickly on the issue of match fixing, because we've been having a lot of accusations or about match fixing in the Kenyan Premier League. How will you deal with it, and how bad is the situation?
I think the first question about the new things that I will bring in the federation, I think I have answered that one.
You have answered it, but for me it's been sounding like a campaign.
No, I'm not. And let me repeat, I have said, if Kenyans feel that I am the right candidate, they'll vote for me. I'm not going to be the only candidate. We are going to be very many. If there will be another one to sell better ideas than mine, they'll vote for him. But what I've said is, we'll try to have some good governance, so that Kenyans can see the benefit of good governance and how this governance can develop football in this country. How
much, before we get into match fixing, yes, how much footwork have you done in this campaign? Because for FKF president, remember Kenyans don't vote, huh? It's a neck of about, I think 70 or so members who vote? Sorry? 91 members, and they have to have been voted in the regional offices in the beginning, and they have to have been voted by people who are members, registered members of clubs. So this is not a popularity campaign.
And I'm not seeking this thing because of popularity. And I'm very clear. If Kenyans feel that I can contribute to the development of football, they vote for me. If they feel that I'm not able to do that, they will vote for another person. But I want to give my services to football in this country. Now,
all right, very quickly, because we're actually out of time. We've gone way past 4 o'clock. I just want to very quickly touch on that issue of match fixing. And this, I guess, is what happens when you're struggling financially, because everybody who's involved in football looks for ways to make money.
I think match fixing is...
How bad is the situation in KPL?
I think the first case we had was one of our clubs raised an alarm on his team. It wasn't taken seriously, and happily FIFA came in through to investigate that matter. And they managed to get culprits and who were sanctioned. Sanctions were bedeviled against them. And probably because if you're found indulging in match fixing, it's a ban. Yeah, or for a certain period or a lifetime ban. So, and as you said, it's because probably of finances. And finances now, it depends on whether a club is paying their players or not. So it still bottles down to trying to get more money into the sport.
It does. Musonye, how would you deal with match fixing?
I think it's an issue that it is very tricky. Because you need really to prove that this actually happened. And if we prove that it has happened, the culprits cannot escape. They'll be banned. Because actually, the moment you allow that, you are killing your football.
Sporting integrity.
You are killing your football.
There's a comment here from Judy Masharia. She says, if we can't deal with the issue of protecting the players' welfare, the integrity of the game will always be compromised. Man has to eat. What will Musonye do differently in terms of ensuring that players' rights are protected, which includes ensuring their wages are paid? And I think these are issues we've actually discussed over the 1 hour or so, because it all comes down to funding. You have a job on your hands. Should you win, you have a job on your hands, because getting funding for this sport in Kenya
is a challenge.
It's not easy. And I think, Musonye, you just need to take it from the campaign to branding and knocking on doors. Do you have any parting shot, Jack, before we wrap?
Just so that Kenyans know, I think it starts with the federation. KPL is part of the federation. The clubs are members of the federation. Now, if the head is suppressing the son, how will they perform? So those are the challenges that we have. But like you talked about funding, the federation has a duty to play in terms of club licensing, because a club that is going to feature in the league must have passed through and given a license by the federation. If that is not done, then we will just continue with the league without doing these checks and balances before knowing that either this club is going to complete the season. So the buck stops with the federation because they are the member association who are supposed to uphold the rule of law.
I remember Nick answering this question during a football symposium we had as Jaza Study a couple of years ago. And he said if you're supposed to be strict on club licensing, we would have about 4 teams in the league. Because the fact is most of our leagues cannot prove, most of our clubs cannot prove on paper that they can finish this season financially.
So be it.
So we need branding, we need marketing, we need fans before you can get revenue.
Precisely.
Ukona kazi.
Precisely.
Guys, thank you.
I'm aware of that. Thank you very much for your...
Ukona kazi. Ukona kazi.
Thank
You
very
have
much
work
for
to do.
hosting us.
But guys, thank you so much for coming.
Right,
I mean, do you have a parting shot for us?
No, as Jack has said, we need to make KPL and FKF work as one team. As one team, then the rest of the issues will be cleared and it will be very smooth. What I want to say is that we are going to do our best. And if Kenyans give me the mandate to run football, I will try to do something good for them. I will try. I'm not an angel. I'm saying I will try to be good. I will try to be very, very cooperative with all the stakeholders. I will try. I'm not an angel.
All right. Well, thank you. None of us are angels, but thank you so much. Thank you, Musonye, aspirant for FKF president, former FKF secretary general. Thank you, Jack Oguda, CEO of KPL. I know your term ends in September. If this man wins, you still have a job.
How do you know?
If maybe if he wins, I'm saying. If he doesn't, I'm not sure what the future of KPL is, but it will revert to the federation to run the Kenyan Premier League, I guess, if the status quo remains. But we'll wait and see what happens. But guys, let's keep the conversation going. I wish you're on Facebook. Go there and read the comments. There's so many comments.
Yes.
Very honest comments from honest Kenyans who want to see Kenyan football grow. Take the comments, don't take them personally, take them so that we can grow football to the next level. But thank you guys so much for honoring this invitation and coming for the show. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week again on Radull Live.
Thank you very much.